about this St. Louis Rams move to Los Angeles. David Hunn joins us back, stltoday.com. You can read all these stories online. David, so we're now finding out more about what happened in that marathon owners meeting in Houston.
Yeah, that was fascinating. I mean, what a meeting. It really was incredible. That thing went from 9 to 9.
And one of the things that we talked about and one of the things you focus on is very rarely do the owners go against the committee's recommendation. The committee was 5-1 to go for the Carson plan, right, and yet they rejected that and took Kroenke's plan.
Yeah, I mean, I really think, nearly everyone I talked to, in fact, everyone I talked to, thinks that if it wasn't for that secret ballot, the owners would have supported Spanos in much larger numbers. It's really tough to say what would have happened at the end of the day.
Right.
But that secret ballot was key. It allowed guys who, have allegiance to Spanos to vote for Kroenke because they liked his plan better.
That is just amazing to me, the amount of cowardness among these billionaires to look a guy straight in the face and say, I'm with you, but then vote against him in a secret ballot.
Yeah, and we talked to John Shaw a while back about the same issue, and the same thing had happened to him.
Do we know the two people who voted against the plan?
No. In fact, no one knows. Get this. I talked to the owner who counted the ballots, and he didn't, there was no, you wouldn't know. You can't know. They're secret ballots.
So there was no name. There was an X on a yes
right.
or no.
Yeah,
wow.
It was an X on a list of letters.
Yeah.
So the ballots were, you chose a plan by letter.
Yeah. At what point did it sound like to you that it was already in the bag for Kroenke and it was just going to end up? At what point did the tide turn and it was Kroenke's favor?
Immediately. I mean, immediately after the very first vote. So, okay, let me be more precise. The whole first half of the meeting, meaning from 9 a.m. to like 1 p.m., was kind of set up. The Kroenke presented, Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, presented for the Carson plan, the San Diego and Raiders plan, and then the owners talked about how they were going to do it, like how would this happen, how would it work. They voted on the secret ballot. They passed the secret ballot 19-13, and then the committee, the LA Opportunities Committee, which had studied this for a year, got up and gave their recommendation and told why they gave that recommendation. And then the first vote happened. And that first vote happened, as far as we can tell, right after that 1 o'clock time period, and it was immediately Kroenke. Like there was absolutely, Carson didn't get anywhere close to enough. So it was like 21, let's see, I have to do my math here. It was 21-11 in that first vote.
Right.
And so immediately, what happened was, no one realized how popular Kroenke's design and plan was. And that harkens back a little bit to that New York meeting. I know this is like the sea of meetings, so
right.
Let me not confuse everyone, but there was kind of a pre-meeting in New York City the week before with some key committees, the Owners Finance Committee, the Owners Stadium Committee, and then the LA Opportunities Committee. And Kevin Demoff, the COO of the Rams, went out to give the presentation. And owners just said he killed it, that they were like jaw-dropped. I mean, I think the quote that I put in the story was something like, "Holy bleep, there's no way this is gonna not pass the owners. Like
right.
they're gonna love this," and that's exactly what happened. They came in and they were.
So I guess the answer to the committee voting for Spanos, they voted that way because it was public, and once it was private, then they all voted the other way.
They did eventually. Yeah, I mean, there was one. So Jerry Richardson, the Carolina Panthers owner going to the Super Bowl.
Right.
He was so staunchly supportive of Carson, so much so that he recruited Bob Iger to get, to be the kind of face of the plan and to develop the plan.
Right.
For Carson, and he flew out to visit owners to try to persuade them otherwise. So I think it's a really good chance that he was one of those two no votes.
Right.
I don't even, maybe Mark Davis, obviously the owner of the Raiders, Mark Davis, did not get a very good deal out of this. Then again, he got an extra $100 million should he want to build a stadium in Oakland.
Right.
That's not so bad,
Well,
right?
now hold on a second. That's an important point. You also report that if Kroenke would have wanted to stay in St. Louis, he would have been offered that as well, even though the NFL said we weren't allowed to get that $100 million.
Yeah. So that was a slap in the face. Okay. Sorry. Let's take a step back, just for anybody who's coming into this new. So the Peacock and Blitz, the stadium task force here in St. Louis, put in the plan at the very end an extra $100 million from the league, and the deal was they would give some of the tax dollars back to the team. So they said, we won't tax you for this, but in exchange, we're going to get $100 million extra, plus we're going to increase rent a little bit. And they had cut that deal with the owners. The owners said they wanted to do that, but they had not circled back to the executives. And so Roger Goodell, the commissioner, sent a letter, the next day or 2 days later, saying, I don't know where you came up with this idea, but this, he didn't say we're not going to do it. He said, we've never done this before, and this is far from a done deal.
Right.
And that slap, we now understand, was you didn't go through the right process. This stuff is not agreed to, and it may not be agreed to by the owners, although they're all actually talking about it, and they probably will agree to it, but we have to say that, so that was the deal there, was like, and I get it, the NFL has to do that, right? They have to say, you may not get this. Hey, aldermen, when you go vote, that's fine, but we're not promising this.
Right. Well, the NFL always needed a trap door to get out at whenever they wanted.
I think they had a few.
Yeah, they did. David Hahn, great job as always. We look forward to more of your work. STLtoday.com. Thanks for checking in.
Thank you both.
You got it.
Thanks, Dave.
7:57 KTRS.